Okay, full disclosure, before we start this video, I know it says that we're planting sweet corn in the title. We're not. We are doing just decorative corn and broom corn, but I put sweet corn in the title because I know a lot of you like to grow or would like to try growing your own small plot of sweet corn, and the method is going to be the same. I will say, if you don't, you'll see at the end of the video or towards the end, I talk about pre-emergent. If you are someone who doesn't want to use that, you don't have to. You can do all the other steps, but not use any pre-emergent, or use the fertilizer of your choice or whatever. But I just wanted to say, full disclosure at the beginning, I'm not actually planting sweet corn, but I am going to show you how I would do that if I were. In fact, we used to plant a small plot of sweet corn, and this is what we would do. So, all right, I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Hey everybody, it's Cheryl. Today I'm going to be planting the decorative corn and the broom corn. I'll show you the planter that we use to do that and just the simple process. It's a pretty simple process, but I think some of you might be interested in that. In the background today you may hear the tractor going. That is Chad. He is working on planting the corn maze, which he is using the actual tractor and an old 4-row John Deere planter to do that. So, but mine will be more, I don't want to say old-fashioned. The broom corn actually does get planted by hand, but we have a nice simple seeder that we use to plant all of the decorative corn. The seeder we use for this is called an earthway seeder. You can find these in, actually I'll step back a little so you can see it. It's in the back of the truck here, but you can see it has a handle that goes up, so it's easy to push. And you can find these seeders in a lot of your catalogs or online, and there are a couple other brands as well. We've had this one for a long time. We don't use it a ton. We primarily use it for planting corn, and also there are sometimes we use it for special sunflower seeds that are not our main crop when we do our sunflower field. So I'll use it for those as well. Basically how this works is there is a little plate inside of here. Let's see if I can show you in there. Yeah, you can kind of see that actually right there. And it goes around and it scoops up a seed. I have the other plates. Excuse me for my, wow, well, my crazy camera work. Not very good one-handed, that's for sure. Okay, so you can see on here, this is actually one that we've taped off every other one, and we used this when we planted some sunflower seeds. This one is actually labeled for beets and Swiss chard, and it had about the right sized hole for it, so for our smaller sunflower seeds, so we just used this, but we needed different spacing, so we taped off every other hole on here. But you can see there's different kinds. The one that's in the seeder right now is a sweet corn one. This one, if I can read it here, this has got smaller, tiny, you can see those little notches on the edges, and this one's for like lettuce, cabbage, etc., some small things. This one has really big holes or catches, and this one's for beans. So it comes with a bunch of different plates, so you can plant a lot of different things with it. Today, like I said, we're using the corn wheel inside there. The other thing that's really nice about this, and this would be tricky again now that I'm actually one-handed doing this. This part comes down, and I'm going to lean that back there, but you can see this comes out to the side. So when I'm actually out in the field, you'll be able to see this. This is going to be my row marker for the next row. So I'll just be able to put that down, just like on a tractor and planter. They have row markers, or the old ones do. I don't even know if the new ones use that. They have so much fancy stuff now on the new tractors. But this will mark my row for me, so that I can just go down that next row really easily, and keeps your row spacing very even, which I really appreciate. Today, I should just mention what we are planting. This is the ornamental corn Wilda's Pride, and that's one variety that I grow. The other one is going to be the glass gem corn, and then I've got my broom corn mix as well. And then the other thing I'll be using is flags to mark my rows, because I will want. So sometimes we do use a pre-emergent on our corn. Broom corn is actually sorghum, and we do not use a pre-emergent on that. When it comes up, it actually looks a lot like grass, and so if you've got some grass coming up in it, along with it, you're going to want your rows marked, especially so that you know exactly where they're at. Sometimes it's very difficult to differentiate between the broom corn and the grass coming up. So that's why it's important to mark your rows. Okay, we're going to start with the broom corn, and I am just, it's breezy out here. Sometimes I'm not able to wear my hat out here because it gets so windy, but I prefer to wear it when I can to protect my skin a little bit. But anyway, we're going to start with the broom corn, and as you can see, I have a couple flags in here, and I am just going to use a hoe to make a little trench, and then I'm going to be dropping seeds in and covering them, just like you can probably imagine they've done for centuries. And you can see that, you know, my line is not going to be 100% straight. I don't have a string out here or anything to follow. But we found for what we do here, this works pretty good. And just so you know, in preparation, this ground has all been tilled already. So that's why it's loose enough for me to do this. I just wanted to give you a quick shot of what those broom corn seeds look like. They're pretty tiny. And there is no real exact science to this. I space them approximately every couple inches, but I just kind of drop them along as we go. And these should be planted about a ½ inch deep. All right, so 1 row done. We will probably do 5 rows of broom corn, and then I'll switch over to the decorative corn. Well, the broom corn is all planted, and I decided to just do 4 rows because these rows are a lot longer than the rows I usually plant, so I think that'll be enough for us. And then you can see the rest of this plot here, it's actually pretty large. I'm going to put into the ornamental corn that's called Wilderness Pride, as long as I have enough. If I run out, then that's all that's going in here. One thing I should mention when you're planting different varieties of corn is that you should plant them in different areas. You have to spread them out. You can't plant them right next to each other or they will cross-pollinate during the season. With pumpkins, I get asked this all the time about cross-pollination. And the truth is, when you're growing pumpkins and squash, yes, they can cross-pollinate with each other, but you will not see the results of that until the next year. If you keep those seeds and plant them, that's where you'll see your cross-pollination show up. But with corn, that's not the case. You have to plant it in a different spot, far enough away from each other, in that year. Otherwise, you will get cross-pollination that year. You don't have to wait to see it show up the next year in the seed that you're reusing. So I will plant the Wilda's Pride right here in this one, and then I've got a second plot that I will plant the glass gem corn. Here's the cedar all set up and ready to go. You can see it has nice wide wheels, so unless it's really windy, it actually will stand on its own that way. You can see the row marker down, all right? Actually, I'm holding the seeds in my hand. Maybe I should not be doing that. It's hard for me to do 2 things at once here. But you can see the row marker right here. But that actually flips from side to side. So as I start this row, I'll actually have that on this side, and it'll be marking my next row so I can follow it on the way back. When you get closer, you can see here's the hopper, and we're just going to put the seeds right inside the hopper. The other thing about this is down below. Let me see if I can get a good shot of that. If it's, honestly, I don't know if I can without lifting this. Let's see if I can lift it. Okay, so that's the part that's going through the ground. It's actually like a little, almost like a little plow, and then that channel in the back is where your seed comes down and goes into the ground. And so now that I've got that kind of in the ground, you can see that. So now your seed is going to drop down in through that channel right there into the ground, and then this actually kind of closes a little bit behind, and then the chain helps bring the soil back in to cover those seeds. And then also the wheel here helps pack that. So you get, it's a pretty slick deal. It's got a lot of parts to it that all have purpose to them. The other thing is this raises and lowers, so you can plant the seeds that you're planting at whatever depth you need. I think I mentioned that the broom corn was like about a 1/2 inch, but I did that by hand. But this is going to be our decorative corn, and that's going to go about 1.5 inches into the ground. So I'm going to go ahead and get that hopper filled. And then another thing is if it is windy, and you can actually put this down, and it's like a little tripod stand to help it stand up as well. So, but I'll go ahead and get the corn in there, and I'll get started planting. Well, I can tell you after what I poured in there, that's definitely not going to fill this plot. So we may end up sticking a few squash or something in the end of it if we have room left over down there. Yeah, let me take this up. Sometimes, as you can see, the soil is very soft from us tilling it. It's kind of clumpy, but it is soft. And sometimes you have to give it a little extra push to get it through the ground. Still less time than it is doing it by hand or with a hoe. And sometimes when you get a dip in the ground, this is not level, you actually will see that the seed got left on top. And so I just put a little dirt over and cover them up if that happens. When it gets down to the bottom, there's only like, a handful of seeds in there. Sometimes I tip it to the side to try to make the wheel catch it, but sometimes they still don't catch very well. So to be honest with you, when it gets down to the end, I'll grab what's left in there and go plant it back in the rows and just stick them in somewhere. I'll probably go back along this last row because this one's probably going to be kind of sparse. Okay, now I'm just going to go down each of the rows and check for any corn I see exposed, because I miss that sometimes when it's actually happening. And if I see anything exposed, I just cover it up. Okay, that's all the rows. That's all the rows. One thing I forgot to mention, or I said earlier, was that I mark all my corn rows, and I lied. I forgot that I don't mark them. I just start planting, but I do mark my last row so I know where we stopped off. So I do mark my rows for the broom corn, but I don't mark every row for the decorative corn. So I'm just going to put a flag in the ground to mark that last one, and then we'll head over to the other plot and get the glass gem corn planted. Okay, well, I'm excited to have that job done. Now that the corn is in the ground, the next thing for us to be doing will be fertilizing. You may have noticed Chad go by on the Kubota, while I was planting in that last video. He was going to grab the spreader. The spreader is what we use to put the fertilizer down. After that is finished, we will actually be putting the pre-emergent on. Pre-emergent is a chemical that we put down. It is very similar to preen. It keeps the weed seeds from germinating, so it helps us stay ahead of the weeds until the corn is large enough for it to, survive on its own without getting choked out by the weeds. So it helps us get a head start on that. So that's what we'll be doing. The pre-emergent does like to be watered in. We are supposed to be getting rain overnight into tomorrow morning, and so hopefully we get that rain. It'll be perfect timing for us, and hopefully we'll get the corn off to a great start.